Do Pyaza. It is very commonly seen on the menus of many Indian restaurants. Paneer do Pyaza, chicken do Pyaza, shrimp do Pyaza, but I haven't yet come across a menu that has a vegan version of do Pyaza. Namaskar and welcome to Curries with Bumbi, and today I will be showing you how to make a restaurant-style do Pyaza recipe using tofu and all vegan. Start by prepping the tofu. As always, I have taken firm tofu, discarded all the water that comes in the package and wrapped the tofu in paper towels. Then put any kind of weight on top and allow that excess water to drip off. If your tofu doesn't come in a package filled with water, then you need not do these extra steps. Keep it like this for about half an hour. Then unwrap the tofu and cut them into any shapes of your liking. Next, coming to the onions, I need a good amount of finely chopped onions that will be needed for making the gravy, and I need more onions that will go as a garnish at the end. Do in Hindi means two, and Pyaza is an onion. It doesn't mean you will be using 2 onions in this recipe, but that you need to add onions twice in the cooking process. Once when it is fried to make a gravy, and the second time when it goes as a garnish. And for that you need to cut the onions in this way and separate them out individually. Then I like adding a bell pepper, not used in the traditional recipe though, but just because I like to add it. I'm certainly not a do Pyaza purist, and I always like staying away from those traditional and authentic recipe disputes. You can use bell peppers of any color, and since these will go as a garnish, so chop them similar in size like the onions. I will also make a spice paste. In a bowl, add some ground coriander, then ground cumin, a good amount of Kashmiri red chilli powder, which is mild in terms of heat level, but if you do not want that heat, then you can definitely replace it with paprika. And finally, little bit of turmeric powder, without which Indian cooking will remain incomplete, but do not add too much as that will ruin your dish. I added about 4 tablespoons of water, and your spice paste is ready. Okay, let's start with the gravy. Whenever it comes to cooking tofu, I like using a non-stick heavy pan. Now, Bumbi, was this very necessary to say? I think yes, because I don't want all your tofu to get stuck on your pan. Okay, back to do Pyaza. Add about 2 tablespoons of oil on medium-high heat. Once the oil starts shimmering, add the chopped onions and a sprinkle of salt that will help the onions to soften down faster. Stir the onions on medium-high heat and stir them frequently so that they get fried evenly. Now, as I always say, frying onions for making a gravy needs a lot of patience, and it is sometimes very frustrating, but it will pay off at the end, my friends, just trust me. For this recipe, you do not need to brown them up too much, but you still want to see that slight brown color happening on them. That little bit of caramelization will bring out the sweetness in those onions. Okay, after 10 minutes of stirring, my onions have started developing that color. And I heard you saying, what? 10 minutes gone just to bring out that color? Well, you are making restaurant quality food, my friend, so you've got to put in all that effort. And if you still think this is too much for you, then please do not watch any further. Just make a sandwich for yourself and maybe come back to the video later. Now it's time for that spice paste. Stir on low heat just for a few seconds so that the spices don't burn. Then I rinsed out my spice bowl to get that last bit of spice goodness. Then comes the aromatics, grated ginger and grated garlic. Stir them on a medium-low heat for a minute or 2 to get rid of that raw smell, and then add the tomatoes. Usually a sour element is added to balance the sweetness from those onions, and that can be yogurt or tomatoes, and sometimes both. I feel tomatoes bring in a great freshness as well as color to the dish. I had also soaked some cashew nuts in hot water for a while. Discard that water and add them to the pan. Cashew nuts bring in a nice creaminess to the gravy. Then add a teaspoon of salt and cover the pan for a few minutes on medium heat. Give a stir in between and cover again. The tomatoes have turned into a mush and most of that watery stuff has evaporated. I added some chopped green chilies, which are always optional. Then comes a little bit of sugar. Now why do you always have to add sugar, Bumbi? Because it balances the flavor. You do not have to add sugar if you have any concerns. Do what you think is best for you or your family. I am here just to give you ideas, so take my recipes just as a guide and make it in your own way. As you can see now, the tomatoes are having this jam-like appearance. Take it out in a bowl and let it cool down considerably. Once it cools down, add it in your blender and make a smooth puree. And this is how smooth it must be. Coming back to that same pan, I have rinsed it out and dried it. Add about 4 tablespoons of oil. When the oil turns little warm, add a little bit of red chili powder or paprika. Remember guys, you need to do this when your oil is just little bit warm, or else the chili powder will burn and you will end up getting a very bitter dough pyaza. Place the tofu in a single layer. Sprinkle some salt and fry them on medium-high heat. If you are using a smaller pan, then fry them in batches. It's not necessary to fry the tofu. You can directly add them to the gravy. It's just that the tofu retains its shape in the gravy if they are fried, and they do not fall apart when cooking in the gravy. You can also fry them lightly if you want them less chewy. Add a sprinkle of salt on the other side as well after turning them. Take them out in a bowl once they turn golden brown in color. Now in that same oil, add the red bell peppers. Season them with salt and fry on high heat for a few minutes. You do not want them to turn mushy. They need to still have a little bit of crunch on them. Then I added the onions, again a sprinkle of salt and freshly crushed black pepper. Stir the onions for about a minute and take them out into a bowl. Again, I will be using that same pan. There is still some oil left, so no need to add any more oil. Add the blended paste. Then as usual, I rinsed out my blender jar to get all that goodness. I even added some hot water to loosen up the gravy. But guys, do not make a swimming pool, as that will dilute the flavors. Then I crushed some kasuri methi, that is dried fenugreek leaves, to release the flavor and added it to the gravy. Please do not go too overboard with the kasuri methi. It has a bitter note to it which can make your curry taste bitter if you add too much of it. A little goes a long way. Do a taste test at this point and adjust the seasonings. I felt it needed more sugar. Next add the tofu and cover it on very low heat for about 10 minutes. Coming to adding more flavor, and I promise this will be the end of my flavor madness, but this will take your dish to that ultimate level of yumminess. Heat a pan over low heat, then add coriander seeds, cumin seeds, a few green cardamoms, a cinnamon stick, and cloves. Stir them continuously on very low heat till they turn fragrant. But remember guys, you need to do this on very low heat and do not roast them for too long as they may turn bitter. Take them off heat as soon as they turn just a shade darker in color. Today I am using a mortar and pestle, but you can definitely use a coffee grinder or spice grinder. And we are looking for this kind of a situation. 10 minutes done, lid off. The aromatic spice powder goes in, followed by the red bell peppers and onions. And do not forget those juices, guys. Then my love for coriander leaves continues. And just look at those gorgeous colors. Each piece of tofu is coated with a luscious velvety sauce. The sweetness from those onions are rightly balanced with the freshness from those tomatoes. And I assure you that you will be really impressed when you make this dish. Please smash that like button if you've enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.